Hey, what's up, everyone? This is the True Squad podcast. This is episode number 3. My name is Sam, and I am here with
Eli.
Yeah, that's weird. We got that switched around. I was thinking in my head, okay, I got to introduce Sam, and I guess I introduced myself.
That's okay.
As
you can be me for the day.
Today we got kind of an exciting episode. I think it's exciting. I had fun researching this.
Yeah.
It's about the Bosnian Pyramids. Now, I know last week we did kind of a split deal on the Emerald Tablets and on the Bosnian Pyramids. And after the show, I talked to Sam, and I was like, I really think that we should do a full episode on just the Bosnian Pyramids.
Absolutely, because I think they deserve their own show. I mean, there's just so much to talk about, just that one subject alone. And I felt like we did a disservice to it. So
Exactly. So today we're going to try to give you a couple different aspects regarding the pyramids. And there's kind of two schools of thoughts here. There's the school of thought that this is an actual ancient pyramid, one of the oldest pyramids in the world.
The other is that it's either going to be a man-made hill or a natural formation.
Now, where do you kind of sit just in your own beliefs regarding the pyramid?
My own personal view on the Bosnian pyramid is that it could be either a man-made hill or an actual pyramid itself. The reason why I don't necessarily believe that it's a natural formation is because there's just so much stuff surrounding it that it kind of makes it much more difficult to believe. And every time you hear somebody who tries to detract from that aspect of things, the only thing that they say is that we're completely missing the most simplest solution, that it's naturally man-made, or that it's naturally made. And of course, the simplest answer is always the easiest answer. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the correct answer.
So when you look at the formation of the Bosnian pyramids, is it possible that just in nature could form a pyramid-shaped hill?
To be completely honest with you, I'm not a geologist, so I can't tell you. When I was researching, they said that pyramid-shaped hills are not all that uncommon in Bosnia. I've never been to Bosnia, so I don't know. I'm only taking other people's words for it, and that's pretty much the way that it has to go until you actually see it and physically touch it for yourself. Now, is it possible that the sole person who discovered or is researching the project can manipulate certain aspect of things to make it seem more enriched than it is? Absolutely, it is possible.
So you're saying it's possible for, say, the lead researcher on the Bosnian pyramids is Dr. Osmanagich, and we're probably slightly butchering his name. We do apologize for that if that is the case. But are you saying that it is possible for him to be so encapsulated by what he possibly found that it might even steer away from other findings that would show that this perhaps might not be an ancient pyramid? Do you think that he's so far into it now that anything new that comes up that might show that it's not a pyramid, he's going to ignore? He's kind of one-track minded.
It might skew his view, but I think the more independent researchers that he has out there and the more assistance that he gets, it'll actually benefit his case. And it's not like he's not trying to get that done. It's just that nobody wants to go out there and do it with him.
Right. Now, but he has in the past had a bunch of other individuals that aren't necessarily scientists. They're not archaeologists. They're just people that are interested in what he's doing out there excavating with him. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is smart for scientists, or not for scientists, but for science rather? Or would you rather prefer an actual team come in that is not biased either way, they just want to find facts? How do you think, in his position, would be the best way on going about this?
To be completely honest with you, in his position, he's taking what he can get. Though I think preferably it would be better to have an unbiased team of professionals go out there and actually do the excavation and digging. The problem behind it is that there's always court orders, and there's I believe he's gone through 3 lawsuits to try and protect his right to excavate the area. Apparently there's some other maybe possibly less older societies or civilizations that have occupied that area and have used those pyramids.
But that's not uncommon, right?
It is not uncommon.
They say that about the Giza pyramids, that they don't actually think, some actually don't think that the Egyptians built it at all, that actually it was there before the Egyptians, and the Egyptians inhabited it.
I think the biggest proof of that being absolutely 100% true is that there's no markings of who built it. And I know that Egyptians were pretty vain, and they wanted to know who built it. They would put what's called a cartouche on everything that they built or everything that they touched, and there is no cartouche on the Great Pyramid of Giza.
And if there was going to be one on anything, it would be that, right?
Absolutely, because it's the biggest and baddest one of them all.
Until this Bosnian Pyramids came about. Now, if this turns out to be a pyramid, they're claiming that it would actually trump the Pyramid of Giza.
I think by 300 feet.
Which is incredible.
I think the biggest proponent that tells me that this most likely is legitimate is the sacred geometry associated with it. Now, we're talking about the scale of it, the fact that it's the most perfectly aligned with the summer solstice. I think it's off by 12 seconds.
Which is amazing.
Amazing, yeah. That's even better and more precise than the Great Pyramid of Giza. So, you've got that kind of stuff behind it. There's also artifacts that are found in there. Now, some detractors say that he is using his imagination in order that anything that he finds, that's rock-shaped, and that maybe looks like tools or molds for tools.
Now, wouldn't you think, though, I understand where they're trying to come from, that you can only always kind of morphify. That's not even the correct word. But I think it's amorphism, where you take an object and you try to make it into
it's not.
like a character of some sort. But I did watch the video, and keep in mind, we're going to post both videos in the
links.
Yeah, we're going to post both videos when we post the podcast. That way, you guys, I really would encourage you guys to watch both of them and take both views.
And please give us your feedback, so that way we know. Because, like I said, this is all a learning experience for everybody. So
correct, and we done quite a bit of research on this. We took really all day today and knocked out quite a bit of research before we came onto this podcast. So we do encourage you guys to give us feedback and let give us your own thoughts as well after you watch the videos. But I kind of thought where I was going with this after I said that, so that happens from time to time.
Yeah. We got sidetracked.
So let's give a little bit of an encapsulation, I guess, of Dr. Osmanagich. Just so everyone knows, he's not just a random person out there with no education trying to do this research. He actually is very highly educated. I have some notes here. Some of his background is in anthropology. He's a professor at the American University in Bosnia. He's a foreign member of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences. And he's a member of the Archaeological Society of Alexandria, and he also has his PhD in Mayan studies.
Yeah, actually, I believe his thesis was on the Mayan culture, so he knows quite a bit about pyramids and pyramidal structures.
And that's very, very important, and I think that his education is pretty high. Now, I just remembered, actually, what I wanted to tell you regarding those...
Thanks for remembering.
Yeah, regarding what you said about him finding things that might not be there, and rocks or stones or whatever. Yeah. But when I was watching the video, he was, and it was actually the hoax video. They said that this is a hoax. He was actually holding up a rock, and it looked like that it was in a shape of a human holding something.
Oh, I noticed that, but he didn't make mention that it looked like a human.
It didn't. They didn't really make mention of it at all. They actually, to be honest, in this video, if you're trying to discredit someone, in my opinion, the worst thing that you can do is make him look like a total nut.
Belittle.
Exactly, and that's exactly what they did. They belittled him. And when they kind of showed him holding that rock, they were kind of trashing him a little bit. But to me, it looked like a human being, a shape of a human holding something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so odd. Like he made a little joke about the rock that was a boomerang.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a comedic guy. If you watch his presentations, he does joke.
Yeah, he makes light, because how else do you handle diversity like that?
Exactly. And I think that it was
adversity. I meant so.
I think it's just kind of bad taste in how they kind of piece that together, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But we can go on this. One thing, give a little bit of history that I thought was really, really good. Some of these things that we're going to share, I am pulling directly from the video of Dr. Osmanagich and his presentation. But one of the first pyramids that were built was the Bent Pyramid, and it was said to have been built by Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently what the mainstream scientists and Egyptologists would have you believe is that he was not happy with the Bent Pyramid, which kind of makes sense because it was bent, and so he built the Red Pyramid. Now, what's interesting about all of these pyramids that were built is that there's no paintings and there are empty chambers. Now, I know for a long time that the mainstream idea was that pharaohs were buried in them.
Mm-hmm.
However,
there have never been any bodies found. And they've actually even found the Valley of the Tombs.
Right.
The Valley of the Kings, I believe they call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the actual royalty was buried. And it wasn't in the pyramids.
Right. And so you can already throw that away. So then apparently Joseph wasn't happy with the Red Pyramid, so he built a third pyramid. However, there's no proof who built it. And again, the passages and chambers were empty. So there's no way that, in my opinion, that the pyramids were actually built for tombs of kings. And then you have, of course, the Great Pyramid of Giza. And the three pyramids were supposedly built by the father and the son and the grandfather. I can't remember the father and the grandfather's name. I apologize for not getting their names. That's why when
Shame on you.
I know, but that's why when we're saying these things, we're kind of giving you little bits and pieces because we want you to go and actually watch this presentation.
We can't do it all for you.
It's it's almost a 3-hour presentation. So basically, we're only touching the surface of kind of this whole subject here.
Touching the surface.
But one thing that's interesting about all these pyramids is that there is, as Sam said earlier, a lot of geometry that was placed into it.
Mm-hmm.
With the pyramids of Egypt, it states that the base of the biggest pyramid the side of it was a length of 232 meters, which is 700 feet. And then if you add both the sides together, so 232 plus 232, that is 464 meters. Then if you divide that by the height of 147, you get 3.14, which is pi.
Pi.
Now they say that we didn't even discover pi until 2,000 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is a subject
but then again, there's nothing new under the sun.
There is nothing new under the sun, and you're a very big believer of that.
Yes.
But there's something that I wanted to bring up to you that I don't know if you'll have an interesting discussion, or not discussion, but an interesting view about, is that when we talk about geometry and we talk about math, it's been said that you can find math in anything. Mm-hmm. If it's been said that you can find math in anything, is it possible that if you looked hard enough at that structure and you really wanted to come up with pi, would you be able to come up with that necessarily by several means?
Okay, let's take a look at this way. My house is nowhere near that big, but can you take the dimensions of my house and make that? I don't know. I'm not a mathematician, and I really, really hate math.
I really hate math, too.
So I don't know. That would definitely be a good question for a mathematician.
But it's almost manipulation, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
If you took the base of your house and then you divided it by the length of your shutter,
mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? If you could manipulate it in that way, could you, I don't know that you could, but
that's an interesting theory. I never even thought about it that way.
I get really weary when they come up with these equations
mm-hmm.
to come up with a specific answer that they're looking for, because to me it kind of goes back to a lot of the Bible prophecies mm-hmm.
of
the end times and how they took numbers from certain passages, and they divided them, and they multiplied them, and added them, and then you got
You talking
19.
about numerology?
Kind of. That's kind of where I'm going with it, yeah. And then they came up with a year of like 1999 for the end of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then they go back and recalculate, and then it's going to be the next couple years.
Right. We were off. The Mayan calendar could have been off by several years.
Oh, yeah, like the whole theory that we're in the right day but in the wrong century.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know how true that is. Some people say that it's a well-known fact. Now, I couldn't tell you.
I'm just kind of saying that I get weary of it. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I do find it fascinating that it's there. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if they actually, when building it, knew it was there, or because it's a squared structure, it's going to be there. You see what I'm saying? Yeah,
but then again, what if that structure was just a few feet shorter?
Right, then you wouldn't have gotten pi.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's close to pi. It is pi.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then again, pi is a really big number. It's an endless number.
It's a really good dish.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
So, moving on here, because we can detract on pi all day long.
Yeah, seriously.
So, anyway.
Now I'm hungry for pie. Thanks a lot.
Another pyramid is a pyramid that's in Copan, or it's in the city of Copan in Honduras. It was discovered it wasn't discovered, but it wasn't discovered in this year, but in 1987 through 1989, they were cleaning the walls and pulling the roots out of it. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a pyramid that when they were doing that, it almost looked like one of the walls caved in. Mm-hmm. And what they discovered was that inside of that pyramid was an ancient temple. And this temple, if you see it, I mean, it's beautiful. There's all sorts of reds, greens, yellow, the Rosalia or whatever, Rosalia.
Whatever they called it.
Right.
Because of the reds.
Because of the red color, correct.
Yeah.
And what they found inside that pyramid, this temple, on it depicted the center of the galaxy, and it mapped out our universe. And on the left and right-hand side of the doors, it looked like vehicles. To me, it looked like old automobiles, really. Mm-hmm. And then inside of them were a Mayan. So on both sides in the vehicles, there were Mayans. You
know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the sarcophagus of King Pacal.
Was it similar to that?
Yeah, they call it the fall of Pacal or whatnot, where he's falling into the depths of hell. But really, it looks like King Pacal's in a spaceship. And then there was supposed to be a translation of the Mayan scriptures around it, the Mayan hieroglyphs around it, and it was mistranslated. Well, the person who translated it, right before they died, corrected their translation and said that this was not his descent or his travel to the underworld, but his travel to the Milky Way.
Really? Is that the one where he's looking up?
Yeah.
And it looks like he's messing with the knobs.
And got pedals. And a breathing apparatus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you mistake that for anything else, though? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you seen the 3D model of it?
No.
Oh my God! You should check it out, because somebody decided to take the picture of it and make it like a 4D model, and it really looks like it. They took some liberties on the bottom. Instead of having it flaming, they put like thrusters on it, just so that way it could stand up.
Right.
And it's a pretty good indication of what it really looks like. I mean, you should definitely check that out. We'll find the 4D model of it and put it on one of our show links, so that way you can see that and maybe put it side by side by the picture of King Pacal.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But then it makes me wonder: do any of these scientists have any common sense? Because I know that when you're looking at something, you want to come up with the most logical explanation. But are you so afraid of your career that you're going to say,
I think that's a very big part of it.
That's not a rocket. That's he's going down to hell.
Yeah.
To the abyss. That's exactly what he's doing. Except for he's looking up and he's twisting a whole bunch of knobs and wearing a breathing apparatus.
Yeah, and he's got a pedal similar to the pedals on my motorcycle. So.
Now, and I also think that on that, they also, to the left of it, there was like a light bulb or something. Is that on the same one?
No, I believe that is in one of the pyramids in Egypt.
Okay, but they said, and what they were saying was that was actually a lotus. or something of that nature, and then it wasn't an actual light bulb.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. It was a light bulb. I mean, what else were the Baghdad batteries powering?
Right. Come on, scientists, you can't play with us.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, you can get electricity out of an orange or a potato. You can get electricity from natural means.
What do you think was in that Baghdad battery?
I believe it was.
Did they say?
Yeah, it was like some sort of citrus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly
okay.
how they built it. I mean, we can definitely look it up in the meantime. We've got plenty of time.
Right. Yeah. While he's looking that up, so I just wanted to recap on the city of Copan. So they found the temple in there. It was red in color, so they called it Rosalia. And it had the symbol of our solar system, and it depicted the center of our galaxy. And I think it's pretty fascinating. And in this instance, the pyramid was actually used as a means of protection for the temple. Now, another thing to bring up on most of these pyramids is that they incorporate astrology. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them... One of the pyramids, and I should have got the name of it, apologize that I didn't, but it had 364 stairs, and then on the top one, the platform, the plateau, it was 365. And like Sam said earlier, a lot of them line up with solstices, yes, which is very interesting.
Yes. I've got the information on the Baghdad Battery.
Okay.
I'm showing here that the Baghdad Battery, sometimes referred to as the Parthian Battery, is a common name for a number of artifacts created in Mesopotamia, which is modern-day Iraq. And that's where the Baghdad Battery came from. So basically what it consists of is the artifacts consist of terracotta pots, approximately 130 millimeters or 5 inches tall, with 1.5 inch mouth, containing a copper cylinder made up of a rolled up copper sheet, which houses a single iron rod. At the top of the iron rod is isolated from the copper by bitumen plugs, or stoppers. Both rod and cylinder fit snugly inside of the jar, which bulges out toward the middle. This copper cylinder is not watertight, so if the jar were filled with a liquid, this would surround the iron rod as well. The artifact has been exposed to the weather and had suffered corrosion, although mild given the presence of an electrochemical couple. This has led some to believe that lemon juice, grape juice, or vinegar was used as an acidic electrolyte solution to generate an electric current from the difference between the electrode potentials of the copper and the iron electrodes. So I was right. Some sort of citrus was used in order to do that.
Now, did they say what was used with that?
As far as what they were powering for it?
Right.
I believe the most common thing is jewelry making, is what they say. Let's see here. Yep, electroplating. They says, however, among these believing artifacts to be electrical devices, electroplating is a use not well regarded today. Paul Craddock of the British Museum said the examples we see from this region and era are conventional gold plating and mercury gilding. These have never been any irrefutable evidence, or there's never been any irrefutable evidence to support the electroplating theory. The gilded objects that Koenig, I don't know how to pronounce that, thought might be electroplated are now believed to have been fire gilded with mercury. Reproduction experiments of electroplating by Arne Egerbrecht consumed many reproduction cells to achieve a plated layer of just 1 micrometer thick. There's no record of statuette and solution, and are connected to a Baghdad Battery replica. And indeed, in a matter of minutes, the bottom half of the silver statuette acquires the sheen of gold. So,
I mean, that's pretty fascinating that even in that time they were aware of making a battery, essentially, to do that. You know, sometimes they don't put enough credit to humans.
Yeah, seriously.
Now, do you think that they discovered that, or do you think that they were taught that, though? In all honesty.
You know, it's like you have this line to my mind, because that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm not a big Bible reader, okay, but even in the Bible, it states that knowledge was given to man.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, in just about every single culture out there, when they have their creation story, knowledge was given to us. We did not acquire it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
So the theory that science says that we were just a whole bunch of cavemen and decided to learn things slowly but surely just doesn't feel right to me. It feels like we were given this knowledge. Everybody says it.
It doesn't feel right to me either. And if you think about some of the things that was invented in ancient times, I know that we should probably give a little bit more credit than what we do give to the ancient people. But, I mean, how would you know that acidity and iron and copper rods would, give electric current to form for, electroplating?
Do you want to know what I really truly think? This may sound funny, but I give as much credit to our ancient ancestors as I do to us today. And I honestly believe that we are still being given knowledge to advance our own technology. So there goes that. Do with it what you will, but...
I mean, Joe Rogan has a good little bit that he did in one of his comedy stand-ups, and he says, how about I put you in the forest with an axe, completely naked? How long would it be for you to send me an iPad in the mail? I mean, if you think about it, it just... Even though they say that we've been here for thousands and thousands of years, I just don't feel like we were like, oh yeah, that's what that goes to. That's how you make electric current. Because it's even been said that Nikola Tesla was able to read in a library that was only for the elites, that nobody else had access to.
I've never actually heard that.
Yep, and the books that he read were actual, ancient books regarding some of his electrical devices that he was working on. So
that's interesting.
It just kind of stands to reason, I guess.
Yeah. But not to say that we don't have geniuses that can come up with something else. But then again, what are those geniuses tapping into?
Exactly.
Are they tapping into the Akashic Record?
It's possible.
And those who don't know what the Akashic Record is, that's the universal knowledge that everything that is to be known on Earth or in this universe is somewhere up in the cloud, and we can tap into that. I'm a believer of the Akashic Record.
I'm definitely a believer in it, but I've said in my last episode, because it's so easy to fake something like that, you...
But then again, what is the Akashic Record? Maybe the Akashic Record is God.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's crazy.
But I just get real weary when it comes to psychic powers and people tapping into the Akashic Record. Because apparently with the Bosnian Pyramids, he had somebody, Akashic readers, and he was told by them that, there's a couple fascinating things about that, is that one of the Akashic readers said that there was a healing chamber somewhere in the pyramid. Well, there is a healing chamber in there. Though another Akashic reader was describing the people of the pyramids that were using it at the time, and when you have coincidences like that, they weren't told anything about it.
Yeah, that's another thing that Sam does. That he doesn't tell people. He lets people find things on their own, which is great.
And he lets it line up with their own things that they've already found. Several times he did that with different research teams, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
To come to the same conclusion. So let's see here. We got pyramids on the Chinese soil. We've said that a couple times in the podcast. They're supposedly one of the pyramids, actually the major pyramids were covered up with trees and soil. And
they all had to be cleaned off. Most of them did.
Yeah, but there's the major one. It hasn't been cleaned off yet. And
where I'm going with that is that a lot of them had to be cleaned off from those rough edges, from all the growth and stuff like that.
No, that's true.
So why would the Bosnian pyramid be any different?
It shouldn't be, and that's what I also found fascinating during watching it, is because a lot of the naysayers were saying, he's just digging in, forming his own pyramid. Well, that's not true, because he's actually digging in and finding rock structures that are going up in a 45, 35 degree angle. I mean,
I don't really know how we would be able to grab a team and put them there himself.
Exactly. And he would have to. Where was it that pyramid in Mexico where they had to like uncover it, and it took like a couple years to do?
Yeah, there was like a whole city.
Yeah, a whole city.
And I'm sure there are plenty more stuck in the jungle somewhere.
That was buried in dirt.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks beautiful now. If you look at the final finished product, I mean, it's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
But it's just amazing to me that he has to dig into the side of this pyramid because it's dirt. He has to get to the structure. You see how big that
is? It's 300 or some odd feet bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. How long do you think it would take one man and a handful of volunteers to clean that off?
Forever.
Exactly. So that's why it still looks the way that it does. If you had an actual research team, professionals that actually do this for a living, or more people pitching in to try and help, imagine what it would look like. But let's go on to the detractors, because I know we've got another side. Because, like I said, we've got to look at both sides of this situation, come somewhere in the middle. So, as far as the detractors go, there's some tunnels that are around the pyramids in Bosnia, and Dr. Osmanagich says that the Bosnian area wasn't really known for mining. Apparently, there is a major company out there that is global miners that are based in Bosnia. They said that yes, they used to dig for iron in Bosnia.
But did they specifically say where they dug?
No, but these mines are definitely centuries old, if not thousands and thousands of years old. And even the detractors that went in there and took a look at the dry walls that they found within those tunnel chambers, they even said to themselves that yes, they may not be thousands of years old, but they're centuries years old. And I know that company isn't a few hundred years old.
Right.
That's for certain. Now, another thing that they mentioned is that those dry stacks, those dry walls, didn't come all the way up. So maybe they were built to keep water from coming in while they were mining the rest of the way through. But what were those tunnels really for?
Well, but if you think about it, if an ancient civilization is building tunnels, wouldn't that be one of the things that they did, was build these dry walls in order to keep the water and the stuff that they were mining out from coming back in? I mean, wouldn't that make sense? Now, I don't agree with Osmanagich because he says that the dry walls were built to hide something big. But maybe it's not that complicated. Maybe they knew about mining, you know what I mean? Not necessarily mining, but digging tunnels.
Exactly.
And they knew that they had to build these dry walls in order to keep their...
the places that they were working in dry.
Exactly. And from the soil and everything coming back in.
But that also leaves me to question what were the mining, or what were the tunnels for? Were the tunnels for to get material in order to build the pyramids?
It's possible. What if they were mining? What if they knew that there were these precious metals down there that they were excavating? We don't know. But that is a fascinating thing.
Just because if there's nothing there doesn't mean that there's nothing there now. Doesn't mean that there wasn't anything there then.
Exactly, because was it him that stated that in one of the pyramids they also dug tunnels and that they were actually extracting copper? And it was like tons of copper.
I don't remember that.
They said that if you took a team of people, it would take them like years and years and years and years and years to extract as much copper as they did. And I want to think that the years were in the thousands. That's how much they were bringing out.
That's crazy.
So we don't know that there wasn't anything down there at the time. It might be empty now, but like you said, we don't know. But it is fascinating that you said that, because for it to be a pyramid, there's got to be 7 elements to it. And one of those elements is underground tunnels and chambers. The other one is, we've already mentioned geometry.
Sacred geometry.
Sacred geometry. And the orientation of the pyramid. All these pyramids are orientated north, and this Bosnian pyramid is no different.
Yeah, and it's like we mentioned earlier in the beginning of the podcast, that it's, only 12 seconds off from
true
summer
north.
solstice. Yeah, no, from the summer solstice, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, anyway, yeah. Also,
maybe it was true north, who knows? I'm an idiot, but...
Well, like I said, we're learning. It is what it is. But also, that has to be made of construction material, which is artificial, and in this case, with the Bosnian Pyramids, it's concrete, which
Speaking of construction material, we've also got to note that there's multiple different construction materials. There's sandstone, and there's man-made concrete, or what some people call quote-unquote man-made concrete, because they believe that concrete is actually naturally made. And here goes another subject on that, the side detractor, that there's Dr. Robert Schoch who believes that the man-made concrete is natural concrete. I've never heard of natural concrete.
I've never heard of natural concrete either.
They say that the Romans invented concrete.
Correct. Actually, 7,000, I believe, 7,000 years would have been.
Yeah.
Is when they actually discovered how to make concrete. 7,000 years ago. Is that when the Romans were around?
Who knows?
I don't know. But anyway...
And if you do, please let us know, because we haven't researched that.
The point is that when the Bosnian Pyramids were built, it was built with concrete, and supposedly we didn't know how to make concrete, so the detractors are saying, well, we didn't know how to make concrete until the Romans, so this had to be natural made.
And it's supposedly 3 times better than we can make concrete today.
Correct. And
that's amazing in itself.
That was Dr. Osmanagich, actually, sorry, I'm kind of siphoning through my notes here. He actually had a sample of that sent out for testing, and the samples that he sent it to, it was at the University of Sarajevo, and it was at the Institute for Materials and Construction, and they actually did analysis on the concrete block samples that he sent in, and they came back and said that those concrete blocks were man-made. He also had another doctor, it might have been at the same institute, but he said that Dr. Harding, no. That's definitely
You just tried to lie to me.
I did try to lie.
You just tried to lie to me.
But anyway, he had somebody else actually look at it under a microscope, and when he looked at it under a microscope, his conclusion was that this concrete was, without doubt, man-made. Now, like you said, I've never seen concrete that has been naturally made, and I think that it's quite convenient to say that if you can't explain it, to say, oh, well, it's naturally made.
Yeah.
And I also think that if you're going to say something like that, then you need to
back it up.
You need to give evidence on how that's done. And I thought that it was fascinating that one pyramid researcher...
Which one? Philip Coppens?
Yeah, I find it fascinating that a lot of the times he blames stuff on the tectonic plates.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything that he was disputing.
Oh, no, you're talking about Bart Martins.
Yeah.
You're talking about Bart Martins.
He kept talking about...
Yeah, speaking of which, he was saying that some of the terraces that they found on there were... The way that he explained it was kind of ridiculous, because I have no idea what he was talking about. He would say that it would go, up the mountain one way and then up the mountain a completely opposite way instead of going it around completely. I don't know. I've never visited, so I literally have no idea what he's talking about. Even in the video itself, when you show him in his hand motions, I'm confused. What in the world are you talking about? You need to explain yourself a lot more clearly, so that way us layman people can understand, or else... I can't take what you say seriously.
Right, and he was talking about the terraces that I believe were supposedly going up through the Pyramid of the Moon, right?
Absolutely correct. That's what I had.
And he was saying, what did he say about the degrees that it was at?
8 degrees.
8 degrees, and why would somebody build it 8 degrees? But you're, in the same breath, talking about tectonic plates and the hills being pushed up because of it. So if this was built thousands of years ago, well, maybe thousands of years ago it wasn't at an 8-degree angle. Maybe that is because of the tectonic plates that were pushing the hill up.
But what was it before? And it looks. I mean, I'm not a geologist, so I can't make a claim. But it definitely looks like it was strategically placed there.
It definitely looks like it's strategically placed there. I've seen rocks that are natural, gigantic formations of rocks that are flat rocks that you can walk on. You know, if you look at a riverbed that's been naturally made, and if you see the cracks in the riverbed, they're not straight.
No.
They go all over the place. When you're looking at the terraces that he's pointing out, they're straight, They have 6 sides on them, and they look like they were cut out.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that's even more hilarious is that same person, when the film crew got their half a day to go do their own thing, to do their own research.
Yeah, he only literally took a half a day to try and debunk what Dr. Osmanagich,
who spent years researching.
Yeah, let me go ahead and debunk a guy in half a day.
Well, they went up to the top of the Pyramid of the Moon because they were said that it was restricted. Osmanagich said that it was restricted area.
Yeah, because if he got caught on camera in that place, he would be sued at the wazoo.
Right.
So he's got to stay away from there.
Right. So they went up there, and there is a scene that he's in talking about how all the rocks there, it was a flat surface, and there were rocks there. And he said that all the rocks were broken up because of the tectonic plate movements, and that when the ground pushed up, it broke all these rocks up, and that they weren't actually laid there. Well, he looks stupid standing there because it literally almost looks like a brick road, because the rocks are so squared and so rectangular and perfect. It looked like somebody placed them there on purpose.
Yeah.
And you cannot tell me that those rocks broke up in perfect squares and rectangles. Nature doesn't do that.
No.
It's going to break up at its weakest points, and they're not going to be... It's just... all their weakest points aren't going to be squares.
Not unless nature has a cookie cutter.
Exactly.
That'd be funny to see.
So some of the other elements to fulfill it being a pyramid is inner passageways, which the Bosnian pyramids have, the pyramids of Giza have, the pyramids in Honduras and Mexico have. It has to have water and rivers, and like I stated, underground tunnels and chambers.
Now, speaking of that underground chamber, how is it that out of all of the other natural structures that are out there, how come the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun has that healing chamber and those healing properties?
Well,
that's a weird explanation. Explain that. Debunk that.
Well, what's fascinating is in the video that tries to debunk the whole thing, they show the healing chamber and they show the rock, but they wouldn't touch it. The only thing that they talked about was the runes that were carved into the rock and carved into another rock, but they would not touch the fact that gigantic ceramic shape, it was like 18,000 pounds, with something circular in the middle of it.
I think it was like egg-shaped or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's egg-shaped. With something oval.
Don't confuse your circles with your eggs, man.
which has something oval in the center of it that's generating a tone, or not a tone, but a resonance of 7.83. Now, we know, well, not everybody knows, but 7.83 is what's called the Schumann resonance. And what that is that's what the earth used to resonate at. That's what the flowers, the plants, every living thing, everything that's made by nature resonates at 7.83. Now, since 1992, that's actually been increasing, and now we're at probably
14 or something.
Yeah,
like
14 or 15 hertz, which is throwing our bodies off. It makes us aggravated.
Makes us wonder why the world is completely out of balance right now.
I'm assuming it's because of that. We're all out of balance because of that. However, the healing chamber still resonates at 7.83. I didn't hear that video talk about that at all.
No. Because
that's something that they couldn't touch.
Oh yeah, and they didn't also mention anything about the Bosnian pyramid speaking.
No. Why would it be speaking?
Mm-hmm.
And I think...
And it from what Dr. Osmanagich's research shows is that it actually, if you send a frequency to it, it'll respond with a different frequency back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe he was mentioning something like that in his presentation, at the latter end of the presentation, when he was talking about how he was transferring the frequencies to piano keys and stuff like that, that it would actually talk back to you.
That's fascinating.
That is extremely fascinating. How does a natural structure do that? I don't know. Does Mount Everest do that too?
No, not that I know of. I've never heard.
That'd be cool. I wonder what Mount Everest would have to say. People, stop dying on my mountain.
Right. Stop freezing. But one of the things that was funny also with that detracting video is that they were talking about how when we're talking about the bioelectrofields that are coming off of the Bosnian pyramids. Now, they had I definitely have his name. Let me siphon through my paper. So the doctor's name is Dr. Harry Oldfield, and he uses a PIP camera. And what this does is it films bioenergy fields. And what they did was when he came to Bosnia, he first filmed other hills in Bosnia. And it shows that they're
horizontal.
They're horizontal. All the energy fields are horizontal, and there's different colors. There's red, yellows, violets, and it's basically measuring the energy fields. He also went to a Bosnian village, and in this village it had electricity, so it had the wires going through it and everything, and it was still horizontal. So then he filmed the Bosnian pyramids, and they all went vertical through the Bosnian pyramids. Now, they were saying that, what's causing that, the detractors were saying, what's causing that is that because there's a river under there, and that river's forming, it forms a lot of energy, essentially.
And the fact that the natural mountain is pyramidal shaped, that it will concentrate that energy. But, back to what we were saying earlier, apparently the landscape of Bosnia has plenty of pyramid-shaped mountains. Why aren't those doing the same thing?
Exactly, and plenty of rivers.
Exactly.
Why aren't those doing the same things? And how do they know that those people that built the Bosnian pyramids didn't already know that? Because one thing that Osmanagich talks about is that in the healing chamber, because of the water that's rushing under it, it's causing that egg-shaped ceramic to actually vibrate, and that's what causes it to vibrate. So they knew what they were doing. Yeah, we know that the water has a lot to play in the energy that's going through the Bosnian pyramids. Now, how is it concentrating that? Because like you said, if they're doing that with other hills and it's not doing that, if they're filming other hills and it's not doing that, then what's special about this one?
Maybe it's because it's a pyramid.
Maybe because, it's artificial. And they also did a thermal analysis of it, too. And this thermal analysis is actually interesting if we're talking about hills and artificial structures. So they did a daytime and a nighttime thermal analysis. And what they found is that if it's natural, then the heat loss is slow because it's got all that concentration of soil that it's going to be very slow coming out of it. But if it's artificial, the heat loss is going to be fast.
Yeah, it'll dissipate quite quickly. Yeah.
Exactly. And what they found is that not only did this pyramid, but all pyramids that are like this, they all dissipated fast.
Yes.
So that is kind of another conclusion to show that this isn't just a hill that we're talking about. This is actually something that was built.
Exactly. Now, some people are trying to claim that these man-made hills or the Bosnian pyramids, that Dr. Osmanagich and his cohorts are carving it into a pyramid, which I'm not so positive on. It just seems like that would be a gigantic feat in itself. And if he and his people can do that, then that in itself, to me, would be quite amazing, and I'd like to see how he does that.
I know, maybe you should go around and carve other hills into a pyramid because, like you said, that's pretty amazing. Do they not understand how many tons of soil you would have to remove?
Yeah, and where would they be putting it?
Exactly. They would have mounds and mounds and mounds of soil. Yeah, and I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
One thing I want to kind of discuss here about this is that some of the legal battles that he's been in, not only the legal battles, but the public outlash that he's had from other scientists, and what are some of the causes of that. One of the big causes is they were talking about, first of all, jealous scientists, because he didn't want some of the scientists involved in doing the excavating.
You're talking about tourist economy. That's where you're going, right?
Yeah, we are definitely going with tourist economy, because one of the papers that was sent to him, or letters that was sent to him, was describing the impact of the Bosnian pyramids versus the tourist economy in Egypt. Now, one of the detractors in your video states that that's kind of, it wouldn't be an impact to Egypt because Egypt's pyramid actually isn't their economy. However, Osmanagich says that they actually make billions of dollars off of, at least, $1 point something billion off of the tourism in the pyramids of Giza. And what was his name? What was the guy, the curly hair guy's name?
The curly hair guy, that's going to be Philip Coppens. He says that it's more towards the river Nile and the beaches that are in Egypt.
Now, what I find fascinating about that, which kind of, it's kind of a detractor of a detractor. One of the things that I found was that actually the River of Nile, I'm pulling up a website here, I'm going to add it in with the show notes. It's from Touriopia.com, and they actually give the top 10 attractions in Egypt. And at number 4 is the River Nile. And what they're calling is a River Nile cruise. So I'm assuming that one of the big attractions is taking a cruise down the Nile River. What comes in at number 3 is the Red Sea Reef. So that would be your swimming, possibly your beaches, I'm assuming.
Oh, who doesn't like snorkeling?
Exactly. But what comes in at number 1 is the Pyramids of Giza. Mm-hmm. And one of the only ways that can come in at number 1 is if that was one of your biggest money makers.
Absolutely.
So it stands...
Or the most famous.
Or the most famous. But it stands to reason that if it's the most famous, then it's probably also generating the most income.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of money spent.
I don't know anybody who doesn't go to Egypt who doesn't want to see it. Especially if you're going there for fun, for pleasure versus business. Why wouldn't you want to go see the pyramids? Well, I'm going to go to Egypt, but I want to eat there.
Exactly. When you think of Egypt, the first thing you think about is the pyramids.
Exactly. Why wouldn't you?
So I definitely think that he's wrong in that sense, and I definitely think that one of the big reasons of people wanting to cover up the pyramids in Bosnia, some of it does have to do with money.
Oh yeah, tourism dollars. It all comes down to money, which I think one of our next episodes should be about the root of all evil being money.
Boy, is it ever!
That's a whole nother subject in itself.
And he actually this kind of goes along with it. It kind of goes along with the conspiracy of, scientists getting in trouble. I know that the scientists, other
come on, you can say it.
I can't say the stupid word. Archaeologists?
Archaeologists or archaeological dig?
Archaeologists. I don't know why I can't say that stupid word.
Work on it today. Just sit there in front of the mirror, spend at least an hour, keep on repeating it.
In some of those conventions, they were telling other scientists, hey, if you go and work on the pyramids in Bosnia, when you go back to your country, you're not going to have a job in archaeology.
Yeah, that's weird. Why would you do that if it's going to be a fake hill?
Yeah, why would you even care? Because they're going to blow their own reputation, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let them hang themselves with what they're finding, because they're going to be making up what they find, right? Why would you do that? It just doesn't make sense unless there's something there.
Exactly. Now this brings me to my next point, and it has to do...
for you. I'll just usher you in.
Exactly. Dun, dun, dun. It has to do with Dr. Barakat. And he is an Egyptologist. He was on the History Channel, and he is basically what's called the guru of the pyramids in Giza. Mm-hmm. He came out to Bosnia and spent some time there researching the pyramids there. And he came out in public and said those pyramids are man-made pyramids.
Oh, yeah. There was no doubt about it in his mind, and where did he end up?
Well, he went back to Egypt, and he actually lost his job because he came out in public and said that was a man-made pyramid. Mm-hmm. So, what's the big cover-up?
What do they have to lose?
I don't know that they have anything to lose if there's not anything there. If there's not anything there, Dr. Osmanagich, he would hang himself. If it was such a hoax, why would you spend millions of your own dollars to try and, uncover the truth? Yeah, because you're not getting double that money back. And it's a well-known fact that he is spending his own money out of pocket in order to try and uncover the truth about these Bosnian pyramids, or the valley of the Bosnian pyramids, really. It comes out of his own pocket when he's traveling around speaking about it at these presentations. Uh-huh. I'm sure he's getting a little bit money back, but it's not recovering that much money. No. He's not getting that much money back to recoup his losses. And if he is, he's sure as heck not showing it, because he's putting it right back into what he's working on. Exactly. He is going to be one of those people that's going to spend his entire life uncovering this. And I say kudos to him, because he's fighting fighting tooth and nail.
And if he dies doing it, somebody should definitely pick up the slack.
Well, I'm afraid that if he dies doing it, I don't know who's going to. I don't know, because it might lose its steam. Everybody else wants to keep it covered up.
Doesn't that happen to the most brilliant of minds? They are so close to greatness, yet they die and nobody ever picks it up, and whoever does ends up dropping the ball one way or another.
Exactly. And what is so crazy is that when you have huge discoveries like this, how great are the forces that are trying to keep it covered up? But for what reason?
You've got people with endless supplies of money that can put into anything to try and derail what you're doing. They've got literally a blank check that they can write for anything to happen.
Or what they should do is put that money towards uncovering what's there.
Why is the truth so scary?
Do they? I don't know.
There's literally a war against the truth, war against reality. What is so dangerous about the truth?
Maybe if they knew what the truth was, they'd lose power. Because people would not care what they had to say anymore.
People in power only want more power and to stay in power.
And if there's something out there that would dispute that type of authority, type of power, yeah.
You know what I honestly think is the biggest thing with the Bosnian pyramids and all pyramids in general that really scare not necessarily the government but the people in power, is the fact that it leads to free energy.
It's kind of fascinating that a lot of it leads to free energy. And that's another thing that I completely forgot about until you brought this up.
I know, because I'm a genius. I can call myself a genius and an idiot in the same breath and still have a smile on my face.
One
confidence.
One fact here before we wrap this up is that what was fascinating is that somebody built a replica of the pyramid. And I think it was the Giza pyramid, actually. And what they did was they actually put the Tesla coil inside.
Was it a replica? Or was
it was a replica. They did a replica of it. And they put the, which still doesn't matter if it's a replica, right?
Yeah.
So they put the Tesla coil inside this replica, turned it on, and what they found was that it actually shot a beam of energy straight out the top of it, not out the side.
Didn't it look like a spiral going on?
Yes, it looked like a spiral, not out the side, not a little bit off, but straight off the top of it. And what they suspect also is that a lot of these pyramids, I know that you mentioned this last episode, was that a lot of those pyramids are missing the top, which is essentially the key for the vehicle, the ignition for the vehicle. And that
what if the top is like the distribution point where it would send it to where it needs to go?
Exactly. And what they suspect is that the top was actually made out of granite or granite with golden plated.
Gold.
It's always gold.
I love gold.
But I just found that fascinating, and we're going to kind of wrap up with that.
Is it already time to go?
Yeah,
I feel like we're still missing stuff.
We might be. I spent all day researching this, and I spent a couple hours a night trying to research some of this stuff.
Yeah, how is it that we touch on this and go in depth in this whole thing and still feel like we're giving it another disservice?
We kind of are missing some stuff. One of our actual goals is to try to get Osmanagich on our program and have him as a guest here, and I think that would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Because he would be able to take it in the direction that he needs.
You know what I would also like? I would also like Dr. Robert Schock to give his opinion as well. I would like them both on at the same time, so that way they can discuss it with each other.
Exactly, and I think that's something that we're going to try to work on for you guys.
Like that'll happen.
So we have high hopes.
That'll come crumbling down.
But we're also going to be sure to add some of this stuff in our show notes. You'll be able to watch both videos. We encourage you to watch both videos. One of the videos is almost 3 hours long.
So, get some popcorn out, take a couple drinks.
Yeah, watch it with your wife, fiancé, girlfriend,
They'll
boyfriend,
fall asleep,
whatever.
Yeah, just like mine does.
If they're anything like ours, they will either scoff at you or just say okay and fall asleep. So that's kind of our lives that we
lead. Yeah. Sad but true.
They're so whatever at this point, but I love them. Yeah. Well, I love mine.
I love mine too.
All right, yeah. Get that in there.
Thanks for pigeonholing me.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you listening to this episode. Hopefully it's given you some insight. And, you can find us now on iTunes. We are on iTunes. So if you go out there, search for Truth Squad. If you like what you're listening to...
Truth Squad?
Tootin' Truth Squad.
And it is at truthsquad.podbean.com.
Yes, .com, not .net.
Not .net, like Mr. Genius Eli over here said.
Yes. So it's at truthsquad.podbean.com.
Podbean?
Yes.
We're all Todd. Have you ever seen that movie, Bubble Boy?
Yes.
Yeah, we're all Todd.
And we are on iTunes, so just type in Truth Squad on iTunes. If you like what you hear, give us a 5-star rating. That would help move us up in the rankings with iTunes.
And donations, keep it coming.
Yeah, we are in need of some equipment. So, again, if you guys donate a couple bucks here and there, it goes back into our podcast. It's going to go back into our equipment.
You guys will be the beneficiaries, trust me.
Exactly. And so those are needed. If you have things that you want to email us about, we are at truthsquademail@gmail.com.
And if you got topics that you want us to investigate and discuss, we're definitely open to that. Or else we'll just keep on regurgitating what we want to talk about.
Exactly. So that's a very good point. If you have topics, please let us know. We'll investigate them. We'll let you know what our findings are. And what we want to try to do is bring out both sides, so there's kind of an even keel. But because this is Truth Squad, I don't want to ever lead it to, it could be this, it could be that, like the History Channel does. And so for that, I'm going to say that for the Bosnian Pyramid, I'm going to say that I do believe that the pyramids were actually built.
The more and more we discuss about it, I believe that they're real.
I do believe that they're real. And so we're going to give our opinions on what we think at the end of these, not just leave it open as a History Channel.
Conclusion. Like Mythbusters.
In the History Channels, they always talk about how, the biggest discovery, and then at the end you have more questions. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah. But it's funny how we're saying, the Bosnian pyramids are real, but we have not been there, so...
Right.
Then again, you also got to take that with a grain of salt. Take everything with a grain of salt, trust me.
Correct. But with the evidence that we're showing, I have no reason so far to suspect that they're not real.
No. As far as it being the biggest hoax ever, I'm not convinced of it being the biggest hoax. I think we need more research.
So. Exactly. And if you guys want to give me a call, it's going to be 555-5555. And you can check that out and see how it goes.
Make sure you breathe heavy.
All right, guys. We'll see you on next episode. Take care.